Gamers, sit down. We need to stop talking about the Switch Pro because Nintendo has a bigger problem in their hands. Quite literally. Hello everyone. Before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I really want to start a discussion with my video, so comments are especially important. Then also you can share this video with whoever you like, your grandma, your dog, your milkman, whoever. And subscribe because videos every Monday, and there is going to be an extra video this week for E3. But that said, let's get back into the actual topic of the day. I like the Switch, but I don't love it. And the reason why I don't love it, I love the 3DS, I love the DS, I love the Wii U is also cool. But why I don't love the Switch is not because there's really anything wrong with that, but it's mainly the controllers, the Joy-Cons, and because of the Joy-Con Drift. Otherwise, I do love the Joy-Cons. They are a fun concept as a controller. I can have my hands be anywhere I want and still keep playing. Can do lots of fun poses while playing. That's also very lovely. But it really got me thinking, if we were to get a better enhanced version of the Nintendo Switch console, I don't really care for that. So having better graphics, it's cool. Having better performance, always welcome. But my biggest problem with the Switch is the Joy-Con Drift. So thinking, would it be possible if Nintendo were just to release a Joy-Con Pro, a better version of the Joy-Con? Is it possible at all? Now, before I dwell more into the question of the possibilities of the Joy-Con Pro or better new Joy-Con controllers, we should talk a little bit about the Joy-Con Drift and how has Nintendo responded to it. So the Joy-Con Drift basically means that whenever you're playing a game, the control stick might be drifting to one direction or another, even if you're not touching it. So the character in game is moving, say, forwards, but you're not even touching the controller. So that is not fun having unresponsive controllers doing whatever they like. Controls are very key to any game. They need to be controlled well, so the player stays in control. Otherwise, it's not really good gameplay. And when it's a controller console wide issue, that brings all of the games down for the system. And Nintendo has acknowledged the Joy-Con drift problem. And at the moment, I think they still do offer free repairs. If you have broken Joy-Cons, you just have to send it to them, and they will take a few weeks, maybe months, to fix it, but you will get a free repair. But it's not really a good solution to this, and they don't really let people know about this because it makes them look bad, really, because it's their fault for having faulty products, and it costs them money to fix every Joy-Con, so they don't really advertise this that they do free repairs. And people and the consumer protection groups and agencies are not really happy about Nintendo's solution to this problem. So that would kind of lead you to think maybe Nintendo wants to have something that would just once and for all solve this Joy-Con drift issue. And I think one of these solutions could be just to release a better set of Joy-Cons that, actually work. So, has Nintendo actually done this before? Has Nintendo actually just released different controllers for their systems ever? Well, there are actually a few examples of these, and I will be talking about these in this part actually. The first I could find is from the NES days. The traditional NES controller, the brick square like. But when the top loader NES came, which is a different version of the NES that came very late into the life cycle, I don't remember exactly when, but when that released, it came with a different controller as well. And this one was more shaped like the SNES controller, but still had all of the NES buttons in it. So it was a bit different, but it came with a console, so it's not really the same thing as just releasing a new controller. But the next I could find is from the GameCube days. The GameCube controller, of course. A lot of people love that controller. People still use it in Smash Brothers. And what Nintendo actually did was that they released this controller called the Wave Bird. And how was this different? It was wireless, completely wireless. I don't remember how it worked. Did it need batteries or anything? Probably there's going to be information on screen. And the next few are actually from the same generation. First of all is the Wii Remote, and later on it got an upgrade called the Wii Remote Plus or the Wii Motion Plus, which basically added better like motion censoring because that we had a lot of motion controls and they wanted to do it better. And I think this came around the release of Skyward Sword actually. And what is interesting about this controller upgrade is that you could also upgrade your old controllers with the Wii Motion Plus attachment to it. So you didn't have to buy a brand new controller, you could just buy like this attachment and it would have all of the upgrades. It looked a bit weird, but you know, it's still a better option than buying a completely brand new controller. And the other thing from the Wii generation is that they had this Wii Classic controller that you could use in some games. It was kind of shaped like the SNES controller. You would attach it to your Wii remote, which was interesting, and you could play with it in some selected games and mostly like in virtual console games. But then they released the Classic Controller Pro, which instead of being shaped like the SNES controller, was more shaped like the GameCube controller. And the trigger buttons were also switched from horizontal to vertical. So that's a small difference as well. So Nintendo has done controller upgrades mid generation before. The question is, how would they actually change the Joy-Con? Because I don't think just fixing the drift is enough, especially for like marketing purposes. If you think about it, they don't want to come out and say like, hey, our last set of controllers didn't work as intended, this one should. That's not a good marketing statement. So they need to have something else as well. So what could it be? Well, first of all, they might be changing the shape a little. I don't think they will do so, as many have been speculating in concept art and so on, that they would just have a regular controller kind of like split in half with like the handles and stuff. The reason they are not doing that, in my opinion, is because the Switch just has to be, you have to have two controllers that you can easily share. And if there's like the big handle over here, it might get a bit uncomfortable or weird for the casual audience to grab the controller and play with it. That's the reason. You need to be able to have like two controllers at all time, but if you want to play with a friend randomly, your friend comes up and like, hey, let's go have coffee, and then you play like the Switch together. So you need to be able to just pass the controller for your friend and for them to be easily understand like, okay, what is this thing? How do I play? That's the reason why I don't think they will just like have a pro controller cut in half. That's not a thing they will do. But otherwise, I think they could change the shape a bit. have it be a bit sleeker, maybe some bump in here to make it easier to hold. But I'm not really sure how they would do that, or maybe they would just like put more colors in it, like have them be two colored. I'm not sure. The other thing is that they could do is just have them have a better battery life as well. That could be cool. Just have them last longer. Not really the most exciting update they could do, but still always beneficial. Then, a lot of people have also been requesting a proper D pad, and I'm not sure if they would actually do this because, again, they need to have like two almost identical looking controllers that you can just pass the other one to your friend if you want to play. But there certainly have been like some third party controllers that already do this, and they do it quite alright, and I'm not sure that would be that big of a problem. So maybe we could see like the D-pad returning in a Switch upgrade. And otherwise adding new buttons, it might make it a bit complicated because I still think even if there is new Joy-Cons and a new upgraded Switch, that it would still have to be exactly compatible with the older Joy-Cons in the older Switch and older games that they have released. So adding more buttons might be a bit make it a bit complicated for developers. But the 3DS did it. The new 3DS has the extra little nub in there. So it's not impossible, but I don't think what button does the Switch really need, if there is any. So those are some examples of what they could add onto the Joy-Cons aside from, just fixing the drift. So when could this happen? And I think the answer to this is if it happens, it will be sooner rather than later because we are already halfway through the Switch life cycle. And I think if they were to release a new set of Joy-Cons, they would love to have them be around for a while, at least the last quarter or the last third of the Switch's life cycle. So we could see it in a few years if it happens. And how could they do this release? Is they could, bundle it up with a better Switch in general, like a Switch Pro that people have been talking about, or they could just do a small update nowhere, like they already did a better version of the Switch with the better battery life. Maybe they could do something like that with a new set of Joy-Con. Randomly have like some special edition of the Joy-Con comes out, like new color, have it be gold or completely white, or maybe like Pokemon themed, whatever have you. And then Nintendo also says like, hey, these Joy-Cons also have like better battery life and enhanced capabilities. They will not go and come out and say we just fixed the drift. They will say like enhanced controls or something like that. They will not be like completely honest. They will just like use clever wording to convey that message but not say it directly. Altogether, I'm not really sure if new Joy-Cons are that likely. Definitely, it would make sense, but you never know with Nintendo. They have done weird decisions, but they put pride in how durable their hardware usually is. So just having this problem is very very baffling. I'm not sure if it's because of the change in leadership or what's the problem with it. But I think Nintendo really should do something about the Joy-Con issue because still 4 years into the Switch life cycle, halfway through the Switch life cycle, it is still a problem for many people. I have two sets of Joy-Con and they don't probably work, either of them. So it definitely is a problem, and I would definitely want to enjoy my Switch more. And the biggest problem I have is that the controls just don't always work. But that said, what do you guys think about it? As I said, I really appreciate comments. So let your voice be heard in the comments down below. I will reply to them unless they are like really hateful messages or whatever. I will try to reply to every one of those comments. And remember, new extra video about the E3 reaction and discussion this week, so please stay tuned for that one. But that said, I hope you guys have a lovely, nice week, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye bye.